Aloha champions and happy Wednesday. For this social studies lesson today, we're going to be talking about the 5 C's of Arizona. So if you're anything like me and have been in Arizona for a while, you might sometimes ask, why would anybody choose to live here? It's hot in the summer, it's dry, it's dusty, but it's also beautiful. I'm out here taking pictures that I'll share with you in a little bit. Gillespie Dam. It's about 45 minutes away from Paideia, towards the West Valley on your way to Gila Bend. And it's a beautiful sight out here. Beautiful morning, the whole thing, taking pictures. So you'll see those pictures at the end. But to get people to Arizona, the 5 main moneymakers that we have in Arizona that got people to move from the Midwest, from California to Arizona. 5 C's of Arizona. And some of them might not be as big as they once were, because we've developed quite a lot, especially over the last 20 some odd years that I've lived here in Arizona. But people move to Arizona for the 5 C's. And these are ways in which people would get rich. So the 5 C's of Arizona that made people rich early on. We had copper, cotton, citrus, cattle, and climate. And if you want to throw in a 6th C, I guess you could throw in cactus, because Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico, all parts of the Sonoran Desert, are the only parts in the world where cactus grow naturally. So that's a fun 6th one, but I don't think people move to Arizona for cactus. Most people try to avoid them because of all their spines that could hurt us. So I'm going to talk about those 5 primary C's and why it brought people here to beautiful Arizona. I know I don't have much of the background, but the sky just looks beautiful today. So I don't remember what order I had them in, but cotton. Cotton grows in very few places in the world. It used to be that cotton was big in the southern plantations of Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, and so forth, during the 1800s. And those cotton plantations were, of course, where a lot of slaves were sold to, and where a lot of plantation owners got rich off of the work of others without paying them, with stealing and kidnapping them to force them to work in their cotton fields. But early in the 1900s, when the automobile was first coming around, people were making tires out of cotton, not rubber. So Goodyear, Arizona, in the West Valley, is named for the Goodyear Company. And they brought in some 20,000 employees to Goodyear, Arizona, to grow cotton and to process the cotton to make the tires, the canvas tires, for early automobiles. So cotton was a big moneymaker here in Arizona. We realized we had more growing seasons, and cotton is durable and can withstand some of those summer heats or the cold, dry winters that we have here in Arizona. So cotton, number 1. Number 2, citrus. So states like Florida and California are known for their citrus, whether it's oranges, lemons, limes, anything that grows in a nice Mediterranean humid climate. Well, in parts of Arizona, we found that citrus also grows really well here. So we have a lot of oranges and grapefruit trees that people used to get a lot of money from. A little bit south of Phoenix towards Tucson was some nice greenbelt areas where water naturally rolled off of the mountains, and we had a few large citrus farms there with orange trees and grapefruit trees. Okay. Number 3, copper. If you've ever held a penny, you've held a piece of copper. But pennies aren't all made out of copper. It's just the outside of the penny that's made out of copper. What we need copper mostly for is for your computers, for the lights in your house, for anything that's powered by electricity. It travels through copper wire. And we had 2 or 3 big copper mines here in Arizona. A few of them are still in operation, such as down near Globe and Bisbee, Arizona. And you can see that we've excavated almost a mile down into the ground over the last 50 to 70 years, mining out copper that goes into the wires that run through your house to power up all of your electronic devices. So copper is a big moneymaker here in Arizona. We've got 2 more C's. Next up, we've got cattle. And if you've ever driven outside of the city, you have probably smelled the dairy farms. The beef industry and dairy have been huge for Arizona because Arizona has a whole lot of wide open land, which makes it perfect for farmers to raise a lot of cattle without having to worry about other people nearby. And so, especially up in northern Arizona, anytime you get up in those pine trees, that's all farmland where they graze cattle year round for beef. And here in the valley, we're more prone to the dairy industry. But cows are moneymakers. And the reason why people would move someplace is oftentimes money. So whether they are getting rich off of planting cotton, planting citrus, mining for copper, or raising cattle, those are all big moneymakers. Now, the 5th and final reason where people would want to move to Arizona is called climate. And this refers to our weather. And you might be like, but it's super hot in the summers. Why would anybody want to come out here for the climate of Arizona? Well, it's not so much the heat. It is how dry our air is. We don't have a lot of humidity. Even on days like today where I've got a lot of cloud cover, we're maybe 25% humidity, where in other parts of the country, they're like 70, 80% humidity. They have more chance of rain. Where climate became a big factor for Arizona was early in the 1900s, from about 1900 to 1930. There was a disease, not as big as COVID as we know now, but there was a disease called tuberculosis. And if you got it, it was a bad respiratory infection. And it made you cough and cough a lot until the point you were coughing up blood. And this impacted a lot of people early on in the 19th century before a vaccine for tuberculosis was developed. You've probably already had the vaccine. All the vaccines you get from when you're born till about 10, 12 years old are most of the vaccines you need, save for tetanus, the flu shot, and hopefully a COVID vaccine sometime in the relative future. Okay? But we didn't have vaccines back then. So the natural cure was because people who were in humid climates, where it was very moist, where it's hard to breathe, where it feels like you are swimming everywhere you go, even though you're walking from place to place, that humidity was bad for people who were suffering from tuberculosis. And when they're suffering from tuberculosis, they don't want the humidity. It fills up the lungs with extra moisture, and it's already hard for them to breathe, and they're coughing a lot. So in the 1900s, a lot of people moved to Arizona because it was dry, because we didn't have that humidity. And they'd make temporary hospitals or camps here in Arizona before we had modern air conditioning. And people came by the thousands because it was better for their breathing. There was no cure per se, but it made it easier for them to breathe, and they weren't coughing as much here in the dry climate. It was good here in Arizona, especially for people who suffered from allergies as well, beyond tuberculosis. A lot of the natural desert blooming plants that we have in Arizona didn't release a lot of pollen. that was until about 20, 30 years ago, when people who suffer from allergies or asthma moved into the suburbs, the smaller communities, all where we probably live. And in the suburbs, we planted a lot of trees that don't belong here in Arizona, and those trees were specifically designed to be the pollinating male trees because they produced prettier flowers. Well, those prettier flowers that people put in our suburbs added pollen to the air, which affected the allergy sufferers and asthmatics, to the point where it's the same as it would be anywhere else in the country. Because we live in the suburbs where we put plants that don't belong there, they have pollen that our bodies don't agree to. So, those are our 5 C's of Arizona. I know there's no text or reading for this, but I think to answer the 5 to 10 questions that we have in Google Classroom, you can remember the 5 C's of copper, citrus, cotton, climate, and cattle. And the 6th one is cactus, if you want to remember that as bonus points on our Google form. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoy seeing me somewhere not in the classroom. I'm going to put up a few pictures that I took from this weekend at Gillespie Dam and other parts of Arizona, just as a nice send-off for this video. And once you're done with this video, you've got 5 to 10 questions to answer on Google Classroom. So thank you for your time. Stay awesome, and I will talk to you real soon.